And then there were two. The campaign trail, of course, is reaching fever pitch, no doubt. Think of it as a boxing match, right? In one corner, in the blue corner, is the current leader of the Democratic Alliance, John Steenhuisen, and, of course, the other, the challenger, the former mayor of the city of Johannesburg, Dr. Mpho Phalatse. Who's going to emerge victorious when the voting delegates decide on the new leader of the opposition this coming weekend at the Gallagher Estate Convention Centre? Dr. Mpho Phalatse is joining us now to make, or at least state, the case for her leadership. And just so you know, we did invite John Steenhuisen to come onto the show, but he declined. Dr. Mpho Phalatse, thank you so much for your time this morning. I suppose the first question to ask you is, how are you feeling?
It's very busy. We've got a few days to go. In fact, we've got 2 days now, today and tomorrow, and then the Congress starts. So yeah, there's a lot of work to be done. I'm still contacting delegates, still phoning, making sure people are coming and that they're casting their vote for me.
Is there going to be a surprise? Because all predictions would suggest John Steenhuisen will win this one by a landslide, as he did the last time. What ace do you have up your sleeve?
Well, let's see what happens. I mean, we can't really say what's going to happen until the announcement. If you recall, when I was running for mayor of Johannesburg, I think it was the last debate when Ipsos survey had put me at number 3, with Herman at number 1 and Pomerane at number 2. And you know what happened? I became the mayor of Johannesburg. So projections are good, but they're really not cast in stone. So let's see what happens.
Your critics will say, hang on, you don't have experience. You're a political novice, I think is the phrase I have seen. 11 months at the helm of Johannesburg. Do not a vastly experienced leader make?
Well, you know, what people don't understand is that your preparation for any role does not necessarily start in the vehicle that you're a part of. Yes, I joined the DA in 2015, but I was at an advanced stage in my career and I had lots of public sector experience when I joined the DA. And it's for that reason that I was sworn in as MMC literally a week after being sworn in as a councillor. And as you know, in the 3 years that I was MMC, a lot of good was done in the city of Johannesburg. So yes, I came in with a lot of governance experience, a lot of public sector experience, as well as private sector experience. And then my political journey started. And in the last 8 years, I've grown a lot politically, also because of the type of responsibility I took on in the Democratic Alliance. In a short space of time, I was MMC. 2 years after Herman resigned, I became mayor. I took on a very huge task of leading a complex coalition of 9 political parties. So I would say that I grew quite exponentially in a short space of time. And I don't think it's fair to judge me based on the length of time in the party. I mean, if you look at Barack Obama, people said it's not his turn. He became one of the best things to happen to the United States. If you look at Jacob Zuma locally, who'd been in the ANC for so long, we didn't necessarily see much from him, did we? So I don't think that it's a good proxy to use.
Let's talk about some of the internal debates. I mean, the rules of the DA in terms of what you can say outside of the party are clear. But one of the things that has been brought up is this issue of you continuing to have a driver on the campaign trail. Is that something you want to respond to?
What do they mean? Me continue to have a driver on the campaign trail. What do they mean?
I've heard that an allegation has been thrown against you that as well, you were mayor of Johannesburg, you used those perks whilst you were campaigning for the leadership of the DA. So in other words, the privileges you would have had as mayor, you were still able to use whilst on the campaign trail. Is that something you want to respond to?
That's not even possible. I mean, it's absurd that anybody would even believe that such a thing is even remotely possible. The VIP protection unit of the city is the Johannesburg Metro Police Department. Now, the city is under a different administration, a different MMC for the JMPD. How would I even access JMPD officers? So, you know, it's the nature of campaigns. There will be propaganda. There will be smear campaigns along the line. It's quite disappointing that people don't actually do their homework and check the plausibility of their claims. I mean, that's not even plausible. I don't have access to JMPD officials.
Okay, fair enough. Let's move on to this one. Perception is a very real thing in politics. We have seen the exodus of a number of leaders, particularly black leaders, who for one reason or another have found the DA is not their home. There are many people who look at the Democratic Alliance and they'll say, despite their difficulties with the governing party, that's something they cannot ignore, whatever the reasons of the individuals themselves might be for leaving your party.
Well, that's precisely the reason why I've put my hand up. I'm aware of the prevailing narrative, but I'm also aware of a lot of it being untrue. And I'm also aware of my party not really doing enough to dissuade these people from their beliefs. And I believe that I can help close that gap. I believe that it's hurting us electorally. I believe that we're not growing as we should, given our brand of good governance. And that's one thing that I would like to address as leader of the party. So no, I'm not planning to leave the party. In fact, a lot of the delegates that I talk to who ask if I'm going to leave, I've been asking if John is going to leave, because it's also a stereotype, isn't it? Just because I'm black, it's almost as if I'm not DA enough. And I don't think that's fair to rate people based on other people who've left. Also, we also need to remember that there's white leaders who've left. Ethel Trollip is one such example. He was mayor of Nelson Mandela Bay. He was quite high ranking in the party and he left the party. Nobody talks about that. So I'm not part of some stereotype, and I'm not going to follow, some trajectory that's been outlined by people outside. I'm changing the narrative, and that's why instead of leaving, I've put my hand up to make a difference internally.
The ANC's promise for the last, 28 years has been a better life for all. Ultimately, that's what South Africans want to hear from any political party that would want to win their votes. If you were to win this contest, if you were to become the leader of the country, say next week by some miracle, what's the first thing you would prioritize as a leader of South Africa?
It's to make the Democratic Alliance a party for all South Africans. It's, again, as I said, there's this notion that the DA is only for certain constituencies, only for certain population groups. Unfortunately, for us to govern in South Africa, we're going to need all South Africans to rally behind us. Unlike the ANC, we've got a proven track record of good governance. We don't claim that we can give people a better life for all. We've done it where we've governed. And that's a good value proposition that I would like to take to all South Africans. So I'd like to rally the masses behind the Democratic Alliance. We know that the ANC is going to plummet below 40% for the first time since 1994 in the 2024 election. And I know that people are looking for a credible alternative. And I believe that the DA can position itself to be that credible alternative. And I would love to lead the charge to get the numbers behind us for us to have the mandate we need for 2024.
Dr. Mpho Phalatse there on the line. She's contesting the leadership of the Democratic Alliance as the official opposition. As I say, we did invite her rival, John Steenhuisen, to be part of this interview, and he declined.
Current events, developing stories,
tough questions,
your voice making a difference.
This is Breakfast with Bongani Bingwa.